Good evening, students. So this topic is on the paper Translation Studies, Unit 3, Key Concepts in Translation. Okay, so I guess till normalization is over. I think I don't know whether I discussed over translation or not. Even if I discuss it, it doesn't matter. Let me begin from overt translation, O-V-E-R-T, overt translation. Okay. So overt translation, when we read the translated work, we can easily understand that it is a translated work. Okay. Then it is called as overt translation. There are some texts. If at all we are at the end of the page, at the end of the book, it is given that this is a translated work from so and so text and author. Okay. Likewise, at the back side of the cover page, it will be printed. Back side of the cover page of the book, at the end it is printed that it is a translated work. So there are some texts we read, we may think that it is original text, but only if, at the end of the cover page it is given that it is translated, or this is a translated work, then only readers will be able to know. There are such kind of work, and there are some works, there are some translated works by which if you read the text, the translated work itself, the TL readers will easily understand that yes, this is a translated work. Okay. So though the translator may be accurate or sincere, because of the structure of the text itself, the TL readers can understand, or if the translator doesn't translate with sincerity, then also TL readers can understand. Both could be possible. Such kind of translation is called as overt translation. So the translated work by which the target readers will be able to easily understand that it is a translated work. That is called as overt translation. And the post-kernel approach, I already told you, that is post-kernel approach. When we post-kernel approach in translation is that when we translate SL to TL or TL to SL, the idea of a superiority complex of the text as well as for the SL author, that is diluted and it is translated that both language and both the cultures are equal. Even if there are statement and the subconscious mentality of the author could be a superiority complex, but that is not given in the translated text. Okay, translated work. Okay, so that is said to be post-kernel approach. And another way of post-kernel approach in translation is that there are great texts in Tamil. We have Tirukural or Sangam literature, Silappatikaram. They are great literature, and such great literature should be translated into English and other languages, so that the greatness of Tamil language and the Tamil text is understood by everybody. Okay. So that is such kind of mentality is also called as post-kernel approach in translation. Okay. See, I already gave the example in Othello. After realizing the truth, Othello regrets himself, thus saying that I committed a sin like Indian fisherman. Okay, so this statement is completely a superiority complex of Shakespeare on Indians. Indians don't do such kind of foolish activity. Likewise, Shakespeare is making the statement: if I am a sincere translator, I should translate as it is, maintaining the superiority complex of the SL author. But the postcolonial approach in translation is that I change that attitude. Okay, I use some other image saying that the protagonist, the hero commits sin of murdering his wife, and and then after committing the sin, he regrets himself. Okay, how he regrets himself? Then I creatively imagine some image, and then I'm using it. So, this is a postcolonial approach. And no, I am a sincere translator. If Shakespeare has superiority complex on Indians, let me do it in the same way. This is accurate translation, but this is not postcolonial approach in translation. Okay. If I have post-colonial approach in translation, I change the superiority attitude of Shakespeare as well as the text when I translate. I consider both the Indians and Europeans as equal when I translate Othello. Okay, so this is said to be post-colonial approach in translation. And simplification is there are some text and words which can never be understood by TL readers. For that, the translator simplify some words and some sentences so that TL readers are able to understand. Okay, and text typology is characterizing the text. Next topic is text typology. TYPOLOGY. So text typology is characterizing the text. It is not a perfect. It's not at all a translation, and it is categorizing the book. So poetry should be translated in some way. Prose should be translated in some way. Drama should be translated in some way. Novel should be translated in some way, and the approach of translation is completely different. Okay, and similarly, when we translate law, legal translation is completely different, and machine translation is completely different. So there are various types of translation, and categorizing the text. Even let's say medical books. So medical students study medical books, and if you want to translate in some other language, the approach of translation is completely different. Okay, so likewise the medicinal book should be translated in some other way. So this book is a medicinal book, this book is a science book, this book is a history book, this book is a poetry book, this book is a drama book. Okay. Likewise, categorizing is said to be text typology. Okay, and translatability is the text which is able to text words or sentences which are able to be translated. That is said to be translatability. And I already discussed the concept of untranslatability. That is, such words and such sentences cannot be translated in the target language. Okay, and teaching aids, any tool, any book, or any software, any machine which we use when we translate is said to be teaching aid. Is said to be translation aid. Okay. So that is said to be translation aid. So I take a book and without any aid, without having any other text or dictionary, I translate. That is said to be proper translation. If I use software, mobile phone app, we have many software on translation. And if I use a machine to translate, or if I use a tool in the sense a 50 or 100 pages book where all the words are translated or definition of various phrases are given. That is also an example of translation aid. Okay. So whatever whether it is a book or dictionary or any machine or any software, if I use such kind of thing to translate, then they are called as by what I translate. Okay, so that is said to be translation aid. And translation error is when there are error in translation, they are said to be translation error. That's so simple in it. Okay. So when we translate, there will be many errors, and the errors in translation are called as translation error. And translation criticism is the next topic. Translation criticism is criticizing the translated work. Okay, not criticizing the text. Okay, so see, Othello is translated into Tamil, and I criticize Othello. That means that is said to be a literary criticism. So I criticize the text Othello, and if I criticize how it is translated, okay. So I read the original text Othello in English, and I know Tamil language also, and I read the translated version of English Othello, and I compare and analyze and I criticize. Okay, so the translation is a great translation. It is a much sincere translation. Here it is word for word translation. It is sense for sense. Here it is sense for sense translation. The originality, the feel is maintained. Likewise, I criticize the translation. It's not the criticizing the text. It is criticizing the translation. It is called as translation criticism. Okay, and the next topic we are going to discuss is adaptation. Adaptation could be called as free translation, but there are differences between free translation and adaptation. Adaptation is a kind of taking inspiration from other text and then adding my own creativity. I change completely and then I write it. Okay, that is said to be adaptation. It is not original writing, or it is not, nor it is not. The translation, it is called as adaptation. It is almost a free translation, taking the idea and I translate in my own way, but it's not taking the idea is free translation. Almost everything is taken into consider and then translating in my own way is said to be free translation. But taking the idea alone, taking the idea and feel alone, and then I add my own creativity and then the text is produced. This is called as adaptation. Okay, and borrowing is also could be called as transliteration. Okay, see, idli, dosa, pavada, and the DOSA. Okay, that's how they borrow the food item. In Tamil we call it as dosai. Okay, when in English they borrow the word dosai, and then the product is going to be dosa. They simply borrow the word dosai and they use it as dosa. Okay, so that is said to be borrowing. They simply borrowed the word from Tamil to English. Okay, so that is said to be borrowing. And see, there are differences between transliteration and borrowing. Borrowing is after transliteration, the TL readers use that word in their own way. That is said to be borrowing the word. Okay. See, let's say telephone is simply borrowed from English, and then all of us borrow it and then we use it. Okay, and we don't translate it, and we simply transliterate it, and after transliteration we simply borrowed the word telephone and we simply use it. Okay, so that is said to be borrowing. Okay, so after transliteration, all the TL readers use that word in their own language. That is said to be borrowing. Okay, and then calc is almost similar to word for word translation. Again, there are differences between word for word translation and calc, CALQUE. Let's say the individual or the individual would express in their own way. Say, for example, in Ramayanam, Hanuman expresses saying that seeing Sita. So, as per the original text, the syntax is wrong, but the purpose is that why Hanuman deliberately change the syntax of the structure in the language is that to reduce the anxiety of Lord Rama. Okay, so seen, so something is seen and then seen Sita. Okay, when it is said, then Lord Rama's anxiety is reduced, and then he narrates by met Sita, and he said, she said that Rama should wage war against Ravana, and after defeating him, she'll come with you. Likewise, Sita said, okay, this is a detailed story, but if all the stories are detailed, are set in detail, Rama would be so anxious and he would be so nervous. So therefore, to reduce the tension and anxiety of Rama, Hanuman misplaced the syntax and then he used it. Okay, so it has its own purpose. The SL text, doing a grammar mistake has its own purpose. In a similar way, it cannot be translated. If we translate it, we have to be, the translator should be very careful. He cannot distort from the main meaning. Okay, so that is said to be calc. That is violation of grammar or sometimes culture, violation of grammar or culture, and something could be violated in ASL that cannot be made in TL. And if you go forward for a translation, then also it would be the meaning is distorted. So a careful translation is made so that the original style and original meaning and sense is not diluted. At the same time, TL readers is also able to understand. Okay, that is said to be calc. Again, I say calc is similar to word for word translation, but when we do word for word translation, the meaning could be distorted, especially in SL there could be a mistake in spelling or grammatical structure or mistake in culture. But the SL text has its own purpose of committing grammar mistakes and spelling mistakes. But when it is translated, it has to be translated in a perfect way, and it seems to be word for word. But if we translate in a proper way, we can do it. If we do it in a proper way, then it is called as calc. Okay. Then next topic is going to be compensation. See, compensation is something. Certain words cannot be translated in culture, and certain things cannot be translated. For that, the translator should compensate something. Okay, how it is compensated is, let's say, in some North Indian languages, some feminine gender is added to objects also. For non-living things also, the feminine gender is added. Okay, and such thing is not available in English or in the Tamil language. So therefore, the field could be lost. Okay. In some North Indian language, objects are given masculine gender or feminine gender. Say, for example, the tree grows well. She is beautiful. Likewise, there is a statement. Even the SL text is grammatically correct. Okay, so tree is feminine gender and it is grammatically she is beautiful. But when we translate into English, we cannot say that it is beautiful. The tree is beautiful. It is beautiful. Likewise, only we can use. But we cannot say tree as she. Okay. But in SL, if we give feminine gender to the word tree, it adds more meaning and it is beautiful in SL. But if we translate into English, the sense is lost. So, therefore, the translator compensates to use the same feel for the TL readers. He compensates something by adding his own creativity. Okay, so that is said to be compensation. Paraphrase, I already told you, that is changing from poetry into prose. It is said to be paraphrase. paraphrase could be done in within a language as well as in other language. Okay, so that is to be paraphrase. Another most important topic is translator's note. Okay, translator's note is something like, say for example, this is a translated work. Okay, so there are even in my question paper also I gave you a gloss. Okay, so there are some words which has to be transliterated, and if it is transliterated, they cannot be translated. Even if it is compensated by adding some kind of creativity, the feel is lost. Therefore, I simply transliterated it, and I gave a gloss, the meaning of rasam and meaning of rasam and thali also. Okay, so that and the feel is also maintained, and even if the TL leaders do not understand the meaning thali or pallanguli rasam, I gave a gloss by after referring I italicized the word, and after italicized you have to understand that the meaning is given at the end of the text. Okay, so that you can read easily. So translator notes is something like a gloss. At the end of the text, a line is drawn, and after below the line, it is given that translator's note. Okay, so there are some meaning for the word, the structure of culture of the PSL source language. A description is given by the translator at the end of each page, or at the end of a page. Okay, so that is said to be translator's note. Okay, he gives extra or additional information about the culture and language and the words. So it is given by the translator at the end of the page. Okay, so that's all about translation studies. The syllabus for translation studies is over, and have a general reading about read the whole textbook. Syllabus is completed, and I refer to Susan Bassnett as well as Kumar book. So the syllabus is completely over for the paper translation studies, and there are some units which are not covered because it is not there in the syllabus. Okay, in our text there are some units which are not covered because they are not included in our syllabus. Just have a read of these units so that there are some general question could be asked, and you have to write in your own. Okay, to have an assist, you just have a simple reading on that on the whole book. Okay, so that's it, and thank you. The syllabus for